Well, hello. Here to read the news. But first, we go to my Substack. You will see that I've got a new article on it called The Four Horsemen of the Digital Apocalypse. Worth a read. Or not. Your decision. Link below. Anyway, let's get on with it. So, first story we have U.S. warns Israel it may withhold arms unless Gaza aid starts flowing. The Biden administration has set a 30-day deadline for Israel to improve Palestinians' access to food, medicine, and other necessities. In other words, the Palestinians are the Israelis' problem, not the Palestinians' problem or Hamas's problem. I fail to see why making sure people who hate you and want you to be excised from existence deserve to be fed by you. Like, anybody else see anything wrong with that? I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I think there's kind of something fucked up about giving aid and comfort to. I mean, granted, yeah, it is women and kids, but maybe the men in that society should think about what their actions will do to the people that depend on them. You know? The reason we don't rob banks is largely because we like our freedom, but also because people depend on us. And so rather than being taken away from them and put in a cell forever, or in this case, being put in the ground forever, you do something productive. But anyway, let's read. The Biden administration has intensified pressure on Israel this week to improve dire conditions for civilians in the Gaza Strip. Warned they would resort to punitive measures, potentially including a suspension of military aid, if humanitarian aid flows are not increased within the month. Yes, because let's bomb people. Let's give people resources so they can bomb people, and then give the people that they bomb resources to recover from the bombs that we sold to the people that bombed them. Makes sense. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and Secretary of State Blinken demanded urgent steps to ensure non-combatants have access to food and other necessities. Why is that our problem? Blaming actions by the Israeli government and lawlessness in Gaza for recent deterioration in conditions there. Well, maybe they should play stupid games, win stupid fucking prizes. Like, this is dumb. They would be obliged to take steps laid out in policies linking the facilitation of humanitarian aid during wartime and the compliance with laws of war. There are no laws of war. It's a lie we tell ourselves to make ourselves feel better about committing atrocities and killing our fellow man. Including the protection of civilians to the provision of U.S. arms and military assistance. Netanyahu has a month to comply, which, of course, would kick the can down the road until somebody else might be writing on it politically. Makes sense. Lovely. The letter from Austin and Blinken to Yoav Gallant and Ron Drimmer does not explicitly reference a possible suspension of arms transfers. It represents an implicit warning that the U.S. could curtail or halt those shipments if Israel does not ensure that Gazans get access to food, medicine, and necessities. What do they define as a necessity in there, I wonder? Missive underscores extreme friction surrounding America's ties with the Jewish state. And hold up. There we go, that's a little better. Where was I? A relationship characterized by close coordination amid Israel's military ongoing war with Hamas, the Iranian-backed militant group whose fighters attacked the country on October 7th, 2023, and killed a bunch of people at a concert and people minding their own business in their homes. But now we're supposed to give two fucks about these motherfuckers that are dying there. Again, y'all took civility off the table when you started this shit. Sorry, not sorry. Get fucked. Comes to at a moment of heightened fear in Washington about mounting instability across the Middle East. As Israel expands a new campaign into the Iranian-backed militant group Hezbollah in Lebanon, and the Pentagon deploys U.S. troops and air defense equipment to Israel. We're looking to see concrete measures taken to address the humanitarian situation in Gaza, which we know continues to be an issue. When will it not? Oh wait, we had it almost not an issue under the fucking Abraham Accords, but no, y'all gotta kick Trump out, y'all gotta be, it's been bad, he's the worst thing to do since Hitler, but nah. Which, I find it funny that the party that constantly compares Orange Man to a certain Austrian painter that had a very high gas bill from the years like 1939 to 45. I find it really odd that they're the ones that are the anti-Semites in this situation. Just something funny. U.S. is by far Israel's largest external backer. Gives them $3.8 billion a year in military aid. Holy fuck. Oy vey. Oy vey. How are we supposed to pay for our own stuff? Said it's being thoroughly reviewed, this warning it is. Critics of Biden's handling of the conflict in Gaza, where more than 40,000 people have died in the past year in conflict, tough shit, have blamed him for not effectively leveraging American support to persuade Israel to comply with U.S. demands for an end to the violence in Gaza. Well, why the fuck should we? I'm sorry. Israel is their own country. They're allowed to do what the fuck they want. We're our own country. We're allowed to do what the fuck we want. If we want to sell arms to Israel, get fucked. Or have another world war about it. Those are your options. I keep selling them, Joe. Fuck these people. Since the war began, Biden has halted only one shipment of U.S. weapons bound for Israel. In May, decided to continue the flow despite an administration review that found Israel had contributed significantly to the insufficient flow of aid to Palestinian civilians. No, Hezbollah's actions and creating a circumstance in which civilians and children are put in the line of fire created that, not Israel. This is like, oh no, oh no, oh no, consequences of my own fucking actions. Again, hold the responsible parties responsible. I fail to see how any of this needs to ever be our problem. Anyway. Picture in Gaza has darkened once more. In recent weeks, Israeli officials have returned to areas where they cite the resilience of Hamas, particularly the battle-ravaged northern areas. According to UN Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, no food has entered Gaza since early October, increasing the risk of famine and what it is described as an Israeli siege of the area. Well, maybe give us our prisoners back. Maybe stop fighting. Maybe admit y'all's a bunch of bitches that didn't think this shit through and thought, oh, we're just gonna fucking shoot up a goddamn concert and take a bunch of hostages and they're just gonna bend over and suck our dicks. Fuck you. How about that? Israeli military office that oversees the distribution in Gaza has denied that Israel has halted the entry or coordination of aid in northern Gaza. Israel officials have acknowledged shortfalls in the delivery of aid since the beginning of the conflict, but primarily blame Hamas and criminal gangs for their problems. Okay, so it's oh no, I stuck a fucking stick in the spokes of my front wheel on my bicycle and I've fallen and smashed my face into the ground. How dare you, Jews? Like, who the fuck are these people even? Like, maybe Yasmin Gold is right. Biden made his displeasure with the situation in northern Gaza known to Netanyahu when the two leaders spoke last week. He let off a rancid fart and shit his pants, apparently. No, the imperative to restore access to the north, including reinvigorating the corridor from Jordan immediately. War has emerged as a major political liability for Biden, whose Democratic Party is now split over U.S. support of Israel. It remains unclear how the war will impact Kamala's chances when she faces off against Orange Hitler. Trump's Republican Party has been seeking to capitalize on Harris's vulnerability. We would like to see 350 aid trucks into Gaza, putting in place humanitarian pauses to enable aid delivery, lifting evacuation orders when they are no longer needed, enabling aid shipments, blah, 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 blah. It's a must act. Or what? What are we going to do if Israel doesn't? Take away their fucking... I doubt it. Doubt it. Called on Netanyahu to ensure that measure before Knesset, whatever the fuck, which would ban all government contact with UNRWA, the main UN agency providing humanitarian assistance in Gaza, does not come to pass. The letter referenced widespread reports of abuses in Israeli prisons where thousands of Palestinians have been detained since October 7th. What about the prisoners the Palestinians took? What about the prisoners that Hezbollah has? What about the fact that these people stormed into a fucking concert and killed civilians and non-combatants? What about the fact that they went through neighborhoods killing non-combatants, women, and children? This is complete and total bullshit. Even if we're going to be the bigger people and walk away on this as Americans, Israel has every fucking right to defend itself from these fucking animals. Period. News of this letter emerged just hours after the Pentagon confirmed the arrival of American troops and equipment in Israel that are part of a new deployment of one of its most advanced missile defense systems. They're cool. Get to test out some cool shit. Oh, it's the THAAD missile system. It's there to bolster Israel's already robust air defense network as the country prepares to conduct counterstrike following Iran's ballistic missile barrage on Israel this month. God, that was this month. Netanyahu informed Biden in a recent call that his country would limit its retaliatory action against Iran in line with U.S. appeals to military rather than energy or nuclear sites. Okay, thank you. Last thing we need is another unwinnable war for 20 years. God. Biden administration is frustrated, as noted by him needing extra diaper changes. Heavy civilian death toll. Well, get out when the air raid sirens go off. I don't know what else to tell you, but explicit threats about cutting off the flow of U.S. aid. Saying all the same things over again. Ultimately, what we want to see here is results. Our hope is that Israel will make changes that we have outlined and that we have recommended, and that the result of those changes will be a dramatic increase in humanitarian assistance. I think it'll probably just be more POWs taken and more civilians killed, is what I think. The letter was simply meant to reiterate the sense of urgency we feel and the seriousness with which we feel it about the need for an increase. A dramatic increase in humanitarian assistance. Yes, we know. You've said it like 30 fucking times. Asked why Biden administration did not simply cut off aid to Israel immediately, given Netanyahu's repeated defiance about the concerns of civilian death toll, Miller said, it's appropriate to give them some time to work through the different issues, to find ways to get to the level of trucks, get the level of food, water, medicine back up to acceptable. Or, just could let them... Like, shoe on the other foot. Say Hezbollah was winning, and they've got a bunch of Israelis that are there. Do you think Iran would be telling Hezbollah to be nice and give them water and give them aid and comfort, or they're going to pull out their support? No, fucking, of course not. Why would they do that? That's retarded. That's pants on head fucking retarded. What we see here is the culmination of frustration. Blah, God, like, how many times are you going to repeat the same fucking thing, you retards? God, sound like fucking Kamala Harris. Unburdened by what has been. She does that Satan thing. She does the Baphomet, like the, what can be, unburdened by what has been. Up and to the right and down and to the left. Anyway, on to the next one. Old man yells at money. Janet Yellen says high U.S. tariff, while deeply misguided, would raise prices. I doubt. Press X to doubt. This is from Reuters. It's U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen will say on Thursday that walling off the U.S. economy as proposed by Republican presidential candidate Donald the God Emperor Trump would be deeply misguided. Raising prices for American consumers and making U.S. companies less competitive. How? How does making people pay more to sell here make it harder for companies that make things here to sell here? Like, that's... Secretary of the Treasury doesn't know how fucking tariffs work? Really? No. You gotta be kidding me. In excerpts of remarks to be delivered Thursday afternoon to the Council on Foreign Relations. Yay, CFR scumbags. Yay. Yellen did not name Trump specifically, but referred to his calls for steep tariff hikes. Trump's proposed raising tariffs 10 to 20% on virtually all imports and to at least 60% on imports from China with specific threats up to 200. I think he actually said 500 on individual companies such as John Deere if they move some production to Mexico. Well, yeah, keep those jobs here. We need them here. Plus, half of Mexico comes here to get the fucking jobs anyway, so what fucking difference does it make? Huh? Trump on Wednesday called tariffs the most beautiful thing in the world. Well, second most beautiful thing after Melania. Arguing that they would fuel U.S. manufacturing growth. Calls for walling off America with high tariffs on friends and competitors alike, or by treating even our closest allies as transactional partners, are deeply misguided. Why? You do in every other relationship in America. Like, that's interpersonal relationships, that's business relationships, everything's transactional. Why not just extend that to fucking allies and whatever? Makes sense to me. A go-it-alone approach to foreign and economic policy like that pursued when Trump was president would make it virtually... What? A go-it-alone approach to foreign and economic policy like that pursued when Trump was president would make it virtually impossible to advance U.S. economic and national security interests today, Janet Yellen said. Because she's fucking retarded and has the memory of a goldfish, including pressuring Russia over its invasion of Ukraine, improving supply chain security, or addressing China's aggressive industrial policies. You know, okay. If the U.S. is selling oil to Europe, Russia can't sell oil to Europe. Meaning Russia now stands to lose more in Ukraine. Leverage. Supply chain security is why we had COVID go the way that it did in the early days, because everything we have is made in China. And how do you... Right now, the environmentalists, which I am... Earth is my god. I do not fuck lightly with the environment. But you don't combat pollution by saying we're going to take the most technologically advanced country on the planet and make things cleanly. You don't fix the environment by not doing that, and instead, oh, we'll just ship it off to China where they'll pollute their part of the planet. We wouldn't have half the problem with pollution, CO2, all that shit, if instead of shipping off our problems to the third world, we dealt with them like responsible fucking adults. If we dealt with them like good stewards of the planet. You want to talk to me about, oh, don't drive a car, don't eat meat, sleep in the pod, eat the bugs, own nothing and be happy. You want to talk to me about that shit? You first. Why are the Obamas buying property in Martha's Vineyard, where it's on the ocean or on the beach or whatever the fuck? I think it's like a inlet. But why are you buying waterfront property there? Because if the coastline's going to be underwater in a year or 10 or 20 years ago, let's see. When I was in 10th grade, Inconvenient Truth came out. That would have been 2006-ish. We had 10 years. That would have been 2016. 2016 came and went, and here we are almost 8 years down, well over 8 years down the road. So we've almost had twice the man, bear, pig, global warming, horror, Holocaust thing, and yet nothing. It's almost like this doesn't have the effect that we're told it has. And furthermore, if rising sea levels were a problem to people, do you really think that a single bank on Earth would finance a 30-year or 15-year mortgage on any beachfront property? Do you really think that any homeowners insurance policies would cover an address on beachfront property, waterfront property, if the sea levels were going to rise at some point in the near future? I don't think so. I think that if CO2 put off by commuting via jet or car is that big of a problem, then maybe these jet-setting douche nozzle sacks of shit WEF and CFR types should go start a shotgun instead of preaching to us. How about that? Anyway, Yellen emphasized the need to create healthier economic relationship with China. I know he's beating you. I know you have a black eye and he threatened to kill you. But have you tried making a healthier relationship with your abusive fucking partner? Fuck off! Trade investment with China can bring significant gains to American firms, and workers must be maintained. Yes, but it must be maintained fairly, so we are not being exploited. But we also must have a healthy economic relationship based on a level playing field. You don't fucking say. You know how you get a level fucking playing field against a command economy like communist China? By high protective tariffs on every fucking thing that comes out of the country. You want to sell your cheap Chinese shit over here? Cool. You're going to pay fucking 60% to do so. And you should be thankful. Barriers to market access in China and unfair business practices cause challenges for American firms and workers in foreign businesses looking to operate in China. No, they cause challenges to people looking to outsource their labor to China. They cause challenges to people who put profit before people. Fuck those people. Capitalism can be ethical if people are held to account for their negative actions. Greed is not a bad thing. Gluttony is. I guess greed, avarice, greed is kind of a bad thing. But being profit-driven is not a bad thing. Being profit-driven and seeking to be efficient and to offer a good product and to fill a niche in the market is not an inherently bad thing, nor is it an inherently good thing. It's up to the person doing that to do so either ethically or unethically. And we have plenty of examples of either. China is a very unethical business partner. America's not the best, but we're not that bad. And we treat our workers a hell of a lot better, though. If you asked any of them, they'd probably say they'd rather be a fucking kid working in a Foxconn factory. So, you know, the ones with the sewer slide nets around them that, yeah. Anyway, Yellen also defended Biden's steep tariff on strategic Chinese imports. Okay. Orange Man tariff, bad. Dementia Man tariff, good. Fuck off. Just in time for the election. It's like we're watching history repeat itself. A judge blocks hand counting of election ballots in Georgia. The ruling was confined to the current election, halting the measure from going into effect for 2024, while judge further weighs its merits in the future. Oh, man. You know how you stop an election from being stolen by ballot printers go burr? You turn out to the polls in such overwhelmingly large numbers that they simply cannot print enough fake ballots to get their way. Vote early, vote often, grab a friend, grab a family member, vote. I don't care who you vote for. All I care is that you do. If you do not know a thing, either read your book, which mine is Arizona. Mine is Arizona right here. But if you don't know an answer, or don't know a position, don't know a policy, don't know what the description actually means, Leave it blank. Move on to the next one. Don't vote on things you don't educate yourself on. There's no shame in voting for something you feel strongly about. There's no shame in voting for every ballot or every measure on the ballot if you know what their effects are going to be and what the negatives could be and all of that. But if you are voting out of ignorance, if you are voting because the TV told you, if you're voting because somebody else told you, you're an asshole. You shouldn't be able to vote in any elections henceforth because you are abusing your duty and the trust placed in you to cast a ballot. It is not just simply voting. You are casting a ballot. You are making a, I agree with this. I agree. You are participating in the fundamental thing that maintains law and order in this country. And you should do so giving it the weight and gravity that it warrants. Anyway, vote. County judge in Georgia on Tuesday blocked a new rule mandating hand count of election ballots across the state. Why is this a bad thing? Why are they blocking this? Who's fighting this? This right here tells you everything you need to know about 2020's election and all subsequent elections until Georgia pulls its head out of its ass. Enacting such as, and I know I'm one to talk, I'm in Arizona, it's just as bad. Enacting such a sweeping change for November election, he said, was too much too late. No. No. That's not how this works. You have the manpower. Call in the fucking National Guard to count ballots if you fucking have to. I don't give two solitary fucks. Counting how many ballots there are gives you a solid, concrete number that cannot be exceeded at any point subsequent. I.e., there will be no 2 o'clock in the morning stop, burst water pipes. Oh wow, look, all of a sudden Joe Biden's in the lead. Can you challenge it? Nope, you can't. Sorry, election's final. We found the votes that we needed. Donald Trump gets prosecuted for asking our people to find the votes he needed. Robert C.I. McBurney, however, did not, however, knock down the rule outright. His decision was confined to the current election, halting the rule from taking effect for 2024, while he weighs its merits further. No, he just doesn't want to have the fucking finger pointed at him and have the roaming mobs of fucking retards reenacting the Summer of Love 2.0 if things don't go their way. Chicken shit. Coward. Bitch made. The rule passed last month by the state election board would have required poll workers across Georgia to break open the sealed containers of ballots and count them by hand to ensure the total number of ballots matched the total counted by the tabulating machine. It would not have required officials to tally whom the ballots were cast. And see, that right there, again, you are just verifying. I really hate quoting Reagan, but trust but verify. We trust you. We're just going to make sure, because you are a person, you can make mistake. Judge McBurney agreed with challenges from several county election boards that the rule was made too close to the election. Too close? What? If Kamala Harris can enter the race as close as she did, and that's not a problem, I fail to see how this is a problem. I mean, considering we held elections without computers up until, like, what, the 90s, 80s? Something like that? Early 2000s? I don't know. There was a lot of hand counting, and you know what? Usually you had the results the next day. Because there was no shenanigans of, oh shit, we're down by this many votes, but we gotta make it look like this. Fucking. How do people not see through this shit? Clearly the state election board believes that the hand count rule is a smart election policy, and it may be right. It is right. But the timing of the passage makes the implementation now quite wrong. Well, you know, whose fault is that? Maybe the opponent shouldn't have held the shit up in trying to get it to get enacted. When is the right time? How long before an election do you have? Is this written down? Do we have these answers? Are these things that we know? No, I doubt it. I fucking doubt it. Hand counting measure was met with near universal opposition from local election officials. You don't say. The Secretary of State and the Attorney General, who warned this change was made too close to the election. The Attorney General's office specifically warned that the election board could be overstepping its authority by mandating such a significant change to election procedures. How? Where's the law? Where's the rules on all of this? Who fucking wrote this over at the NYT? Why do you not have, like, what their actual text of this shit is? That would be rather useful. Rules set to go into effect on October 22nd, 7 days after early voting started, on the very fortnight of the election. Well, how much earlier than that should it have gone into effect? If it would have gone into effect on the 21st, would that have been okay? 20th, 19th, 18th, 17th, 16th, 15th? Last month? 2 months ago? 6 months ago? Because the thing is that this is eerily similar to the, you didn't bring these cases to us when anything could be done about it, is in reference to the voter fraud cases. A lot of them were rejected because there was no remedy that could be sought because it was after the election had happened. And a lot of the ones that were brought before the election were rejected on rejected on the fact that they either lacked standing or they lacked any provable damages because the election hadn't happened. And it's like, okay, at what point can you challenge them then? Or is it just, nope, it's voted and that's it, and you can't challenge any of it ever, and you're going to get prosecuted and your lawyers are going to get prosecuted if they even try? Something's rotten in Denmark. In a statement from Vice President Giggles' campaign on... They celebrated, of course they did. From the beginning, this rule was an effort to delay election results and sow doubt in the outcome. No! How does it sow doubt in the outcome to be sure of what the counts are? How does it sow doubt to verify things independently? If I tell you I have $1 million in my pocket right now, and I'll give it to the first person who knocks on my door, and then obviously I don't, what could I do that would make that more believable? I could show some kind of proof of it, like a bank statement or a wad of cash. I could publish my address. I could do all sorts of things to give you more information and to verify that what I am saying is true. When you... Sowing doubt would be, no, we need to make this more vague. We need to make this less transparent. We need to make this more of a hassle to challenge in the courts, because if you appeal it to the courts, it's heard, it's thrown out because it's a shit argument, or nothing happened, or there's no evidence, or whatever. That's one thing. If you fight tooth and nail and prosecute people who try to do that, I understand. I recognize 100% that the justification of if you have nothing to hide, then you have nothing to worry about is typically pointed at the citizenry from bootlicking thin blue line retards. But when it's pointed at the government, I feel it appropriate because the government does not have constitutional rights as far as we are concerned. The Constitution limits the scope and scale of how the government can fuck with us. And so in saying you have to comply with our rules or we rescind our consent to be governed, I think that's perfectly valid. And I think that asking for some fucking transparency and asking for a goddamn due process, which we are afforded and promised as a guarantee in the Constitution, it is our God-given right, inalienable and inseparable from our very being, to do so. Go fuck yourself, Giggles. As of today, there are no guidelines or training tools for the implementation of the hand count rule, nor will there be any forthcoming. The Secretary of State cautioned the State Election Board before it passed the hand counting rule that the passage would be too close in time for the election and for his office to provide meaningful training or support. How fucking hard is it to say one ballot, 2 ballot, 3 ballot, 4 ballot? Hey, does this look like 4? I don't know, Billy Joe. Let me count. 1, 2, 3. What come after 4? Yeah, that looked like 4. How fucking hard is that shit? It's not. It's not. The decision was second such ruling affecting elections in Georgia from Mr. McBurney in 24 hours. Man, he's just on a fucking tear. He rejected an argument by allies of former President Donald J. Trump that the local officials have the power to refuse to certify election results, finding the process to be mandatory and one that must meet critical deadlines. Actually, with all due respect, Your Honor, you're a fucking moron. See, I think it was Ricado's debate with that retard Destiny on all of that, but he made a very compelling point about certifications and slates of electors, and it's a little too in-depth for my smooth brain to regurgitate here, but well worth the watch. In his decision, he made reference to the former president's attempts to subvert. It wasn't an attempt to subvert, it was attempts to verify. It was trying to remove the doubt by giving due process and hearing the people out. The election season is fraught, memories of chance. Oh my god, I can't even. Fuse date of infamy. Anything that adds uncertainty and disorder to the electoral process deserves the public. No, you deserve the public, you pompous fucking jackass. You can allay all of these fears by counting the fucking ballots. This is like the whole thing with free speech and Nazis. Nazis believe that there's some secret Jewish cabal out there, that there's this giant Zionist Jewish conspiracy to keep the white man down. And they use censorship examples of notable voices saying uncomfortable things as proof for these beliefs. And, of course, rather than approaching the subject with any rational thought process or logic, lefties just say, oh, you bad, you mustache man bad, you burn Jews bad, only Palestinians can burn Jews, blah. And so what ends up happening is they say, see, they're persecuting us, they're coming after us, and they reinforce this thing until it just festers and it gets really bad. Rather than, oh, why do you believe that? And, oh, that's an interesting worldview. I haven't thought of things like that. But are you aware that XYZ kind of undermines your entire premise? Or that, this is just run-of-the-mill fucking jackassery rather than any concerted effort on behalf of the Jews to get you down? And see, the thing is that this kind of activity serves exactly what it is that they're trying to prevent, and they think that they're doing good for some reason because I'm a college dropout. I'm not a particularly smart person, I think. Not a particularly well-read person. I don't like reading. But I do take the time to look at a problem before rushing to a judgment on it. And in this case, I don't think it's that hard to count. And I don't think that asking that the number of ballots submitted be counted and checked against the number of ballots counted. Because 2 of 3 scenarios possible benefit the people far greater than the third one would negatively impact them. And arguably, the third one also benefits the people, albeit in a kind of a roundabout way. If the ballot total counted is higher than the ballot total counted, that is, ballots submitted versus, or ballots count, like ballots checked versus ballots just 1, 2, 3, 4. If the number of votes is, or if the ins are higher than the pool, okay, something got double counted. Let's recheck. If the number of ballots over here and the number of ones counted by the machines, this one's lower or higher than over here, that means somebody didn't get counted. We got to find those, count them. So more voices heard, more democracy. I thought this is what people like, is democracy. And if the numbers match, then we've said, cool, everything's on the up and up, everything's good. In literally none of these scenarios does anything negative to the image of the election happen. It is only when you reject this because people are fucking lazy and can't count that anyone questions the integrity of the election. And rightfully so, I would say, at this point, because this is not uncommon. This is exactly the same kind of shit that happened with all of Trump's cases being dismissed on standing, or various other procedural grounds, none of them being heard inside of a courtroom, and the only one ever having any sort of daylight at all in a courtroom was heard on evidence that was part of the January 6th trial that was not an actual trial. That was a select committee hearing, which is non-adversarial and therefore not subject to the same scrutiny for discovery or any of the other shit. So, due process has not been had. Period. I don't know what else to tell you. But, well, that's enough of that one. On to the next one. Town in swing states sees all election workers resign weeks before the election. Take this job and shove it. All 3 election workers in the small Wisconsin town of Westfield, home to approximately 800 residents, resigned last week. According to Wisconsin State Journal, former clerk Brenda Peterson, chief election inspector Laura Payne, and Election Inspector Linda Bennett submitted their resignations last week. While it is unclear what led to the resignations, former town treasurer Carol Soberry, who also resigned last Tuesday, along with former supervisor John Bennett, told the Wisconsin State Journal that she and the others had a long-running feud with the remaining town supervisor, Carol Golish. Well, of course, Carol's a bitch. And newly elected chair Lindsey Bauman. Oh my God, Lindsey, can you believe it? I can't believe it. This sounds like some super fucking Karen shit. Oh my God. The resignation follows a prolonged local dispute involving allies of former chair, check your spelling, bitches, Sharon Galonsky against Bauman and Glolsch and their supporters, blah, 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 blah. Resignations come as election preparations are set to begin in Battleground State with in-person absentee voting with less than a month. The resignations come as election preparations are set to begin in the battleground state with in-person absentee voting with less than a month before the November 5th election, in which former President Donald Trump will face off against Vice President Kamala Harris. Jesus Christ, Newsweek, drop your shit into ChatGPT and say, fix my shit. I do that with everything. And it makes it so much more readable. And it catches these things. These widths. Like, this right here is just, it brain... Holy shit. Courtney Trimble, the deputy clerk of Marquette County, where Westfield is located, was appointed last week as interim clerk to oversee the elections in the town and remains confident in her ability to train election workers. You can't count to 800, bitch. You can't count to 800. I could probably count to 800 in a couple of minutes. Bentontown clerk Trimble told Wisconsin State Journal, now I'm an election specialist for the entire county. Aren't you fucking special? You want a gold star, bitch? After appointment, said 6 volunteers stepped up to support the election efforts, and several others had previously volunteered after the resignations in the week. Resignations come as battleground states, including Wisconsin, will play a key role in determining the result of this year's election. No, whether or not printers get enough electricity probably will, though. 270. Harris is narrowly ahead of Trump in Wisconsin by just 0.7%, with 48.1% compared to his 47.1%. And I don't want to get too excited, but it looks good. Trump's all-women town hall. I will end all sanctuary cities immediately. Gone. They're gonna be gone. No more sanctuary for anybody. I'm sorry, you break the law. You don't get sanctuary anywhere. The only sanctuary anybody needs is I need sanctuary from these shithole third world countries. I mean, states like California, New York. Former President God Emperor Donald J. Trump himself said he is going to end all sanctuary cities immediately if he's elected, making the declaration during an all-women town hall in Georgia. Trump took a question from a woman named Nancy, who asked about the issue of immigrant crime in liberal cities around the country. She said her son is a Georgia Bulldog who is actually on campus the day Laken Riley was murdered. How quickly can you remove those threats to our societies? God, I keep fucking sliding off camera here. How quickly can you remove those threats to our societies that our children can go out and run, as they rightfully should be able to do at any park in the daytime, by themselves? Well, first of all, we're going to end all sanctuary cities immediately, Trump said, explaining he could do it via executive order. He also then cited the Alien and Sedition Act. We can do things in terms of moving people out. We can move them out of the sanctuary cities. You have some liberals, some crazy people that they fight. You know, normally you like to understand the opponent, like in business. You want to understand what is the opposite. Why do they do this? Why do they want this? Why do they want open borders? Why do they want to do this? Why do they want sanctuary cities, he said, explaining that sanctuary cities are really meant for one thing, to protect criminals. That's what they become. We're going to end all sanctuary cities in the United States, and we're going to go back to normalcy. And we're going to have the law and order, Trump said, previewing a plan to also reinvigorate our police. Oh, please don't. We have great police. They're not allowed to do their job. No, I will not get into that here. He acknowledged you always have a bad apple and, you know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of arrests. One bad arrest is on the front page of every newspaper. And these people are incredible. They want to do their job, just like the Border Patrol. Trump said that his administration will allow law enforcement to do their job. They want to do their job. We're going to let them do their job. And I'm going to give them immunity. And I'm going to give them all immunity. We're going to protect them because they do things and they end up getting sued. Well, I think that's well-intentioned, sir, but the road to hell is often paved in good intentions and littering with the bodies of the well-intentioned. And you ought to consider to ask why a fence is there before you go and tear it down. I think police need to have less immunity in many cases. I think specifically when it comes to dealing with illegal immigrants, that if there is a police interaction at all, just Dora, deported. Because if your first act coming into this country is to break the laws and violate the sovereignty of it, you're already an asshole. If you then go around, and I don't care so much as if you jaywalk at that point, if you get stopped by a police officer and it comes to light that you are here illegally, undocumented, you're a what is it, an unregistered citizen, I think was the stupidest fucking one I've heard. Something along those lines. If you are here and you have no business being here and you did not come here proper channels, I'm sorry. I don't care what your circumstance is. I don't care if there are people literally waiting at the border to murder you and chop you into little bitty bits. Do it the right way, or go fuck yourself. It's as simple as that. If you're out here causing problems, you've already shown that you don't care about our laws, you continue to show you don't care about our laws, I have no sympathy for you. And the whole, oh, what about the children? They're separating children at the border from their parents. It's like, no, they're separating children from the coyotes that are illegally trafficking them over the border. You don't know who those adults are. You don't know who those, if that's an uncle or a parent or a brother or a sister or some random motherfucker that they paid a couple $1,000s to ferry little fucking Pablo across the border. Plain and simple. Like, you want to talk about pro-women? You want to talk about pro, you know, you want to talk about being pro-women? Look at the rape statistics for women being trafficked over the border. Look at the fact that they are dealing in children. They're shipping them all over the country, and they don't know where a lot of them went. I think that's a bigger problem than, oh no, Orange Man said mean thing and he's gonna deport these people. Like, something like DACA, right? Deferred Action, fucking Childhood Arrivals or whatever. In a lot of cases, those kids are just as American as myself or anybody I know anywhere. They were raised here, they went to school here, they have been part of the fabric of this country since nearly the time they were born, in a lot of cases. And I really hate the fact that there is still no action to give them some form of pathway to gain citizenship. I do not believe that we should ever grant amnesty across the board. Unless we're willing to just do a hard reset for everything. Reset everybody's credit limits, reset everybody's bank accounts, reset everybody's citizenship, reset everybody's everything. And everybody gets clean slate, completely wiped clean. If you want to do that kind of amnesty, I'm game. But to give citizenship as a prize for staying undetected and violating our laws as your first act coming into this country, while there are thousands upon thousands of people having to fill out paperwork, stand in line, take tests, background checks, all the sponsors, financial proof, all this shit. So long as that process still exists, I will have zero fucking sympathy for people who do it the wrong way. None. At all. If you were a child and you were dragged here by your parents, or you were shipped here by your parents, I have a small bit of sympathy because you were a child, you had no agency, that wasn't really up to you. Mea culpa, you have to go back, but we need to give you... I feel that in those cases, we should offer an opportunity for those people to stay. But for the irresponsible parents that did that, for the, you know, for all of these people that come across and do so for a better life, you're making sure that the problem exists, because these are people that would otherwise fight for and vote for and see to it that their situation in their home country changes. And it was something I wrestled with a lot when I was trying to make the decision whether or not to stay or leave California, and become a refugee from that failed fucking state and flee to greener pastures across the Colorado River here in Arizona. And I stayed there way longer than I ever should have. I tolerated way more bullshit than I ever should have. I let myself, and the desire to see the people there wake up and to see the situation change. I let my rose-tinted glasses color my perception for too long, and it sucks because I really like California. It was pretty. It was nice to live there, but it was turned into a fucking third world shithole by Governor Patrick Bateman and his ilk. So I know the struggle, what it is to be a refugee. I am a California refugee here in Arizona. And I flagellate and prostrate myself every day for being born on a certain piece of ground. Anyway, next story. Oh wait, there are none. Just a quick space weather update and terrestrial weather update. So we have an increasing chance of flares. Looks like Sunspot 3856 has a beta gamma delta magnetic field that harbors energy for strong explosions. 80% chance of M flares, 20% chance of X flares, non-zero chance of Stone Age setting us back 2 flares, so it's that guy, center disk. Magnetics don't look that complex. Do we have a... Fasistas. Oh, that's the Carrington event sunspot. That's not even that fucking scary. Holy shit. More data. Is it Ace or Goes? Let's see, Discover. Nope, that ain't it. ¿Dónde está? Is this one? Goes X-ray flux. Nope, that ain't it. Is this the one that shows the magnetics? Niet. Anyway, activity in the comet core. That comet was cool to look at. There's a lot happening here. Maximilian of Romania. Some nice details. It's really cool looking. Looks almost like the magnetic field of Earth with the whoosh whoosh. And of course, more Northern Lights pictures. Looks like the auroral oval is waning. There's our orbital position right there. That's us. Onto the wind map. Oh my goodness, look at this. We got surface level. And if we go up to mesosphere, see the jet stream somewhat reshaping. Go a little higher, probably see it a little more well defined. Yep, you got a little gyre there, broken off and isolated between those two. So that's going to be a, got a low pressure here with a high pressure here. Got that, with that, and I just like looking at it. Back in my stoner days, I used to just look at this, just like, pretty colors. God, this would be cool to look at on acid. Little low pressure system there, probably tropical depression, maybe. I haven't been keeping up with that shit. Last time made me too mad. And then we have our National Doppler radar. If we hit the play button, what do we got? A little bit of moisture there. I walked outside this morning and it smelled like rain. Let's see, so if we zoom in on my neighborhood, I am somewhere in this region, along with like 90% of Arizona's population, somewhere in this region. Let's see, not a whole lot there, not a whole lot there. You ever notice how West Virginia looks like Afghanistan? Check this. Images. State border. Okay, so here we have Western Vagina. And here we have Trash Canistan. And see, you got the little doop, doo 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 doo. And then you got the do them. Can I do them side by side? Fuck, I can't. Un momento, por favor. I don't want window capture. I want display capture. I mean, it's not one for one, but like you got that, you got that, you got that and that, then you got that and that. I don't know. I always thought it was kind of cool because Trash Canistan is kind of the West Virginia of the Middle East, or West Virginia is kind of the Trash Canistan of the Appalachia. Either way, I like it. I thought it was cool. But on that note, it has been fun. It has been real. Not entirely sure it's been real fun, but it's been something. Until I decide to do this again, be safe, be good, but most importantly, be you. Goodbye.